rain today in Houston. I know some of us online don't live in Houston, but man, it was pouring down this morning. And we needed it, though. We need the water to keep everything green as we get into spring. Listen, we are coming up on Palm Sunday this weekend, Sunday. And then the weekend after, we have Easter here at Lakewood. And if you have the opportunity to get to Houston, come to Easter. It's going to be powerful. Because he is risen, God has opened the door for us the same. And the impossible is possible. And so we want to invite you to come be a part. My name is Pastor Jeremy. On behalf of Pastor Joel and Victoria, thank you for being a part of the leadership program. We want to let you know that Saturday, March 30th, the day before Easter, we are actually having what we call Spring Fest. It's for families, for kids. We're having games, blow-ups, food trucks, everything from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock on Saturday, March 30th. So if you want to be there, come to Spring Fest. We have eggs for the kids, little kids, bigger kids, and then all of us, the biggest kids, there's food trucks. So that's where I'm going to be living. Food trucks. Come check it out. And we would love for you to come be a part. Also, after Easter weekend, that's March 31st, the very next weekend, we are going to have For King and Country here. For King and Country is going to be here, and they're going to be helping with worship, and they're going to be playing some of their music on Sunday, April 7th. Sunday, April 7th, For King and Country. You don't want to miss. They are an unbelievable group. They have a great story where their family has come from, and I didn't know this. Does anybody know Rebecca St. James? Okay. Yes, I did not know that she was their big sister. I had no clue, and I just found that out today. So anyways, For King and Country, so we have Easter, For King and Country, and then April 13th and 14th, we have Homecoming Weekend here at Lakewood, and we want you to register. Homecoming Weekend, you can go to the church website, and you can register for that. Homecoming Weekend is going to be Saturday and morning and evening, and there's going to be opportunity for you to come be a part, meet Pastor Joel and Victoria. There's going to be connection. We've got gift for you. So come be a part of Homecoming Weekend and then stay for the 14th for that Sunday. We would love for you to be a part. This is an opportunity for so many of you around the world who don't normally get to come to Houston. This is an event that Pastor Joel wanted to put together. He's actually wanted to do it for a couple of years now, to put it together for anybody who lives outside of Houston. We want to focus on you, our online family and community. You don't get to come to the church nearly as much, so we want to invite you April 13th and 14th. If you can be here, get here. Register and come be a part. It's free. Come be a part. We would love for you to be here. I'm not going to take up any more time. I'm going to answer one question, and then we're going to hand it over to Dr. Destry Dokes tonight, who's going to be teaching us chapter 5 in Rule Your Day. Has this book blessed anybody else other than me so far? I've read this book now 4 times, and every time I go through it, I see something new in it. I see something new. And here's the beautiful thing about it. I hear Pastor Joel's messages all the time. And he puts his messages in his books, but every single time I go back through, it's like that week I need whatever is in the book. I need whatever is in the Bible, and I need whatever encouragement God is using other men and women in the body to encourage me. And so my prayer tonight is that we would all be encouraged as well in chapter 5 of Rule Your Day from Pastor Joel Osteen, talking about self-leadership, following the Holy Spirit. And the next class that we have is Leadership 203. That starts in April. Leadership 203, April 18th. Don't miss it, Leadership 203. Communicating so that people will want to listen. How to communicate in a way that people will want to listen. Communicating effectively. That means interpersonal relationships and in a public sense. Say if you speak, if you do meetings, if you do any sort of communication. How do we communicate in the way that people will want to listen? So tonight, I want to do something very quickly. I want to share just a question that was sent in a couple weeks ago to us. And the question is simply this. One of our participants here in the leadership program emailed in and said, What are some best practices while I'm walking in my purpose for two things? Number one, how do I overcome fear? And how do I walk through overcoming the unknown? How do I practically address fear or the unknown? And I'm going to give you two spots in the Bible that are really powerful. Number one, for fear. And I would say this, as a good practice, number one, recognize that fear is a normal part of human life. Fear is a normal part of human emotion. But the Bible also says that God has given us the ability to, even in the face of fear, to live life and to walk in the purpose that He's given to us. So we recognize that there is fear, if there is fear, and then we say, but it's not going to stop me. And faith and the love of God cast out all fear. 1 John 4:18, the perfect love of God removes fear. And so one of the things we need to do when we face fear, number one, is remind ourselves of the love of God. That God loves me, He has called me, He has purposed me, He has graced me. And that this is the life that He has called me to, and I can trust Him even in the face of fear. Because God cares, can I say this? God cares about my future more than I do. And I care a whole lot. But fear, God has not given us a spirit of fear, 2 Timothy 1:7, but of power, of love, and sound mind, wisdom. God has not given us a spirit of fear. So that's number one. David is a great story. David, the shepherd king. David was a young man. He faced Goliath. He faced the fear of fighting against a warrior. He was a young man. And what happened was God was training him the entire time he was in the shepherd's field, and he said, I've killed the lion, I've killed the bear, and then he faced Goliath, and then after he faced Goliath, he was anointed as king at 17 and didn't take the throne until he was 30. So what was he back out doing? Tending the sheep. After he was anointed king, God put him back out in the shepherd's field. Why? Because God was preparing him. And here's one of the things that I think is really important for us. When we face fear, number one, we've got to trust God that God knows what He's doing. Our trust ultimately has to be in our Heavenly Father. But also, we have to trust that God has prepared us for that moment. I have to trust. Here's the thing. If I face a situation that makes me afraid, I have to trust that God has prepared me to face whatever it is that's coming. And that means that I can rest in the fact that I feel in any situation, I can tackle any situation that God puts me in with His strength, with His power, with His Spirit, but I can face any situation I'm put in because He has prepared me from the inside out because of His love. The Bible says that we are shed abroad. The love of God is shed abroad because of the Holy Spirit in us. The love of God is shed abroad in our hearts. It fills us. And so when I have fear and I go, man, I don't know what this is going to look like. I don't know how this is going to go. I have to remember that one, God is doing His thing, and number two, He has prepared me like David. David had no idea what it was like to be king, but he knew what it was like to beat a lion and a bear. And in order to face the even bigger giants, God had already prepared him. So he could trust the God inside of him when he went and faced Goliath and then became king. Second thing, facing the unknown. You haven't been there before. What are the best practices? What do I do if I face the unknown? Not just fear, but the unknown. Because let's be honest, sometimes the unknown is like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I don't know what the end's going to be like. So I would say these two things. Number one, face the fear. And then number two, when God was bringing the children of Israel into the promised land, into their inheritance with Joshua, He sent 12 spies. And Joshua and Caleb were the two that came back and said, we can do it. So what was God teaching them to do? Their research. If you're facing something you've never done before, do your research. That's one practical thing we can do. Because the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of God can help us before we face something. We won't have every answer, and we won't always know how it's going to turn out. But let me tell you, if I get a new job at a company and a job I've never done before, what am I going to do? I'm going to research, I'm going to ask questions, I'm going to read books, I'm going to go find out anything that I possibly can about that. And so I think the combination of facing the fear, the combination of trusting God's hand, the combination of trusting God's leading, that he orders our steps, and then doing our practical part by actually reading, studying, researching, learning all those. I mean, that's biblical evidence right there that God showed the children of Israel they should go into the land, see what it's like, come back and make a report. They did their research. So I would encourage you with those two things. You face the fear and the unknown. Trust the God inside of you. Trust the person that God has developed you into. And then do your research. Add all of that together and then face it head on. Face it head on and trust God. Face it head on and trust God. Faith is a risk. It is a risk. And it's a beautiful risk because we know we won't know the future, but we know the one who holds the future. Amen? Amen. All right, I'm not going to take any more time. Please welcome Dr. Destry Dokes to come hang out with us in Rule Your Day, Chapter 5.
Hear me. Is it working? There we go. Thank you. It's good to be back. I was out for 2 weeks, right? And PJ and Pastor Jeremy covered for me because I was supposed to be doing all the presentations. I told him I was on spring break and some other stuff, right? I actually was. So I was hanging out with the family and having some good time with the kids. Deepest fear. Deepest fear. Look at something. In fact, Steve Crawford was on stage. The wonderful Steve Crawford was on stage talking about and how fearful he was to get on stage and do what he know how to do. He knows how to do it. B flats and A sharps and all of that. But he had a level of fear. Let me read something that Mary Ann Williamson said. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. That's what she says. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be? Brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous. Actually, who are you not to be? Most of the time when we have a gift that God has given us, we like to hide it in here and walk around with it. And so what she's saying is that what if we were to walk around and let people know we had the gift? We can be humble, right? We can have humility with a gift. Some people don't know how to have humility with a gift, but some people do. And oftentimes she was saying that our deepest fear is that we would actually be good at what God gave us. Think about what Steve said on stage. He hit it. So I had an opportunity to talk to other entertainers and individuals that are very successful, and I asked them about being on stage, whatever that means, a physical stage or a leadership space. Happened to be talking to leaders all over the world. And they said to me, I do it afraid. Afraid? How many times you've done it? I've been doing it for 20 years. I said, and you do it afraid? They say, absolutely. Ask my wife. She sings sometimes at Lakewood and all over the world when we travel. And I asked her, I said, how do you stand before millions of people and do it? She said, afraid. Afraid? I've been married to you for 28 years. You've been singing all of your life and you still doing it afraid? It's just a level of energy that you have inside of you, right? That's all it is, just energy. And I learned it from an actor. It's just energy. When a football player goes onto the field during the Super Bowl game, I won't tell you what year it was and who it was, but he went onto the field during the Super Bowl game. He had finally made it to the Super Bowl. Finally, was a quarterback. Finally made it. All of that practicing, all of the dad and the mom trips back and forth as a youth, Pop Warner and all of this type of stuff. He finally made it to the Super Bowl. And the first thing he did when he went on the field is let all his food go. He was what? Nervous. He was a little afraid, but he had been working towards that all of his life. How many of us have been working towards our dreams and aspirations, and soon as God shows us signs of it, we get fearful? You know it's true. Come on now. You know it's true, right? So let's get into Pastor Joel's book. Beautiful book, Leading in My Space. Do we have it up there? All right, we're going to get to Leading in My Space. Yes, let's go to the next one. So we have had chapter 1, Rule Your Day. Beautiful. Chapter 2, we talked about daily directions. Chapter 3, Keeping and Speaking Victory. Chapter 4, The Secret to Solving Problems. And here we are tonight looking at chapter 5. I love this chapter 5. I love all of the chapters. But I got to tell you, I love chapter 5 because it said no more distractions. To suggest that what? You have some. No more. Done. Done. You've been holding me back. No, let me go. I'm done. I'm about to move my life forward. All right, let's go to the next slide. Let's see what it says. All right, what do you see here? What's happening here? Look on the screen. What's happening here? Say what? A wolf among sheep. Do you see that? Looks similar to the sheep. Yes? Would you agree? Looks similar. Every now and then probably do a bad hair. Right? But eventually, if I'm a wolf, I'll do what? I will growl. My grandfather used to tell me, if water runs off his back and it quacks, it's a what? It's a duck. You can say whatever you want to say. But oftentimes, in all of that beauty, the shepherds or the sheep that God has provided us to be among shepherding as leaders, oftentimes there's these things that we can call that have wolf spirits, right? They want to take us out. They want to distract us. But Pastor Joel said in his book, what? No more distractions. What do we have next? So here's the question. How do you define distractions? Let's report out. How do you define distractions? Anybody with a mic? We got some mics out there, I think, right? So who want to speak? How do you define distractions? We're going to report out right here. Right. How do you define distractions? Let's hear. Let's listen to this.
Something that takes you away from what you're focusing on.
Something that takes you away from what you are focused on. Something. She didn't say one thing, one specific thing, but just something that takes you away. What else is out there? Help us out here. We've been wanting to lead for a long time, and we feel like there's distractions in our life. How do you define? Over here, Brad, over here. One right there. One right here? Go for it. Who is it? Where's the hand? Okay, here we go. Distractions. How do you define distractions?
Anything that keeps you away from God's purpose in your life.
One more time.
Anything that keeps you from reaching your full potential and God's purpose in your life.
Now listen at this. The first statement was something that keeps you away from it. Now we hear anything that keeps you away from it. Right? Something that keeps you away from it. Anything that keeps you away from it. What else out here? Now the right side of the house has just been talking all night long. So there we go. What's over here? Let's hear it.
Anything that preoccupies your mind from
the
objective.
Anything that does what? That big word. That big word. Preoccupy your mind. Which means if it's preoccupied, it's thinking about what? That thing, right? So instead of you thinking about your mission and your vision and your purpose, you constantly focus every time you do this here. You ever see the child? Right? You're trying to do something, the child keep doing it, you go, what? Right? They're distracting you from moving forward. Let's hear it, right here.
Sort of in the same vein, but it's something that doesn't allow you to give your full attention to the other thing. So
something that distracts you, anything that distracts you, anything that preoccupies, and something that doesn't allow you to give full attention to what it is that you want to do. We're getting there, right? We're getting a better idea of what distractions look like. Yes, over here, I believe.
Something that attracts you.
Say it again.
Something that you're attracted to.
Something that, now somebody said distracted, but then I hear right here something that you are actually attracted to. Oh boy. Oh boy. We're going to talk about that here. Pastor Joel puts that inside the book, right? I think we had another hand somewhere. Yeah, right here. My friend right here, another hand. Let's see if we can get another one.
In the hip-hop culture, it's called a hater.
Did you hear that?
A hater.
But is it, let me make sure.
Anyone.
Let me make sure if it's only in the hip hop culture.
Well, I'm hip-hop. You know, that's
So in
my
the hip hop
generation.
culture, it's called a hater. And a hater is what? Like somebody, give us an idea. We just showed up. We're leaders. We're new leaders. We don't really understand the hating stuff.
Yes, that will try to distract you or to interfere with anything that you're focused on.
You hear that? Something, anything preoccupies something that distracts, something that you're attracted to, and now you got these haters showing up. Hater spirits. If you ever heard this before, I'm gonna give you one, right? If you know somebody, don't call their name, because it's being recorded and stuff. So you ever say, I want to talk to you about something, and they say, yeah, what's going on? You say, well, listen, I had this great idea. I was coming from Lakewood, got inspired. I was listening to in the leadership class, and I got inspired, and I wanted to do something. I finally wanted to put my foot down, and I wanted to invest in this thing. And what? Why do you want to do that? Well, I'm trying to move forward, but the other person on the line is continuously telling you, trying to find ways to what? Stop you from moving forward because they don't understand your vision. And we're going to get towards the end of this lesson tonight. Pastor Joel is going to inspire us about that. And we're going to talk exactly about that. All right, let's go to the next slide. Thank you guys so much for doing that. Did we get anything online that says what distractions mean? Anything online?
Yes, we did. We got a couple of good ones here. Let's see.
Go for it.
So we've got, here we go. We've got, Sandy was sharing, people that are not proactive in their own goals or not supporting your goals are a distraction. And things that take our focus, energy, and concentration from the work God gives us are distractions.
Let's give our online viewers a round of applause, please. Let's do that. Right. Yeah. Anything that distracts us, anything that I stumble over because I wasn't focused, some things that get in our pathway, in our way, sometimes they are subtle. They're so small till it's not a big deal, but is it? Because if it's not moving you closer to that purpose that I hear you talk about all the time, is it a big deal? Maybe it is. The enemy is cunning, and the Bible says he's wise in his ways, and he uses things and devices to get us to throw us off. And sometimes it's subtle. They didn't mean anything by that. Well, you might want to ask them, did they really mean something by that? Right? So we go to the doctor and we have our health issues, right? Right? We have our health issues. And the doctors tell us, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do this. And you're like, oh my goodness. What am I supposed to do? Right? But the doctor is really trying to move us toward our purpose when it comes to our health. But we sometimes see that cookie, we pass by it once, and it calls us and we like it. We pass by it and we knock it over and go, oh my. Right? And we pick the cookie up and we go to the trash can. Instead of throwing it in the trash can, we brush it off. We got rid of the cookie. It's now gone. We don't have to worry about it anymore. It's not distracting us. But that cookie may create a problem health-wise if the doctor has told you to stay away from those sweets. So sometimes those things are sweet and subtle, but they are distractive to our ultimate goal. Would you agree with that? Yes? Okay, let's see what we got next. All right, here's what we're going to do at our tables. We're going to talk about this, and we're going to do this online as well. What comes to mind when you think about distractions? How do you refocus after being distracted? At your tables, what comes to mind when you think about distractions? What type of things are distracting you, right? If you feel close enough to the person next to you, you can share what type of things are distracting. And then how do you refocus on those distractions? Can we do that for a couple of minutes? All right? Here we go. Let's go for it. Online.
So So I was saying sometimes at work I'll stumble upon a situation that I haven't stumbled upon before, and insecurity will start knocking on the door and saying, oh, you're not good enough, you can't do this. So then I'll stop and I'll think about, wait a minute, God, you helped me through the situation that happened just yesterday, and I know it was you, so if you did it then, you can do it again today. So that's what I...
Love it. And how do you refocus when these distractions or these distractors are coming? How do you refocus?
Well, I guess I stop and just give him thanks for helping me in the past, and thanking him in advance for helping me through the situation that I'm in at the moment.
Love it, love it. Who's next? Right here?
Yeah, I was gonna say, one of the ways that I refocus is if I'm doing an activity or task or something like that, I will catch myself. My biggest distraction is daydreaming. I will envision, I will think about something that I want to do, and it will go off on rabbit trails, and I have to sort of catch myself and stop. So to be honest, the best way for me to refocus is to stand up, physically move for a couple minutes, and then sit back down.
Wow.
And refocus. I have to move my body, waste some of that energy, and then sit back down so I can refocus my mind.
So it's, in your case, it's not a outside force, a person from the outside. It's really what you are dealing with. It's internal to you.
Yeah, it's either that or social media. It's one of the two.
Right. I think I have a hand here.
Yes, I was sitting here with my group and I was talking, and I would just tell them, like, when I think of distraction, I pretty much think of myself because I'm my own distraction sometimes. I can procrastinate with things, and when I realize, like, I start something and I stop, or, I'll get into something and then it's like, I don't finish it, and then a day or two later, or whenever I see, I'm like, I really should have finished that. So I just kind of like refocus, regroup, and I kind of.
How do you
myself.
refocus?
I just look at myself, honestly. I have conversations with myself, and then I just really look at what I was doing, and I'm like, yeah, I didn't do that. And I'm a type of person that I finish things. So I just pretty much critique myself and change it right on the spot.
Love it, love it. What else is out there? Love it, right here.
What I find quite often is that the distraction becomes the goal. And I find that when I'm working on something and I get distracted, what I am distracted to is much more important than what I was working on. And I focus on that.
And how do you refocus to what you really want to do?
Well, no, it's what I really want to do ends up to be the distraction.
So to my friend here who said sometimes it's what we want to do. It's something that we like, that we are doing.
Yeah, and it's just, that happens to me 2-3 times a day. I'll start doing something, and my wife will yell at me about something, and I'll walk in.
Of course.
And all of a sudden, no, it's not even something that she wants. It's just all of a sudden I see something that said, this is what should be worked on, not what I was working on.
But what you was working on, you felt good about it. It became your goal, or it drew you in.
For the moment. And
the moment.
I'll come back to it, okay? And finally do it. But this, it may take 3 minutes, or it may take a week.
Sure. But the refocusing, it comes from your wife or a thought process that you have that gets you back on?
You see it and you say, and all of a sudden you say to yourself, this is it.
Beautiful. In leadership, we still got some hands out there, but in leadership, there are things that happen in your spaces that can sometimes distract you. Some of them you are fully aware of. You're fully aware of. Person needs to turn in a report, starts to talk about something completely different to try to throw you off. You may be fully aware of that. But there may be other things that's happening that you may not be aware of, that you absolutely need to be aware of. You may like what it is that you're doing, but it may be distracting you from carrying out this objective right here that you had on your to-do list, right? What else is out there? Let's see, we got a couple more. I thought I saw a hand or two. Yep, here we go in the back. Yep.
Okay, distraction. The word period, break it down in syllables. Distraction is you're on your tracks. Distraction is in the way, so that's the tracks you're going down is when you understand which way you're going, you're heading, and when you're trying to refocus, you understand that you got to put the refocus in front of the actions words, and that's when you understand that you're refocusing because you know you got distraction because that's the tracks you're heading down.
And sometimes, let me ask the question here, and this, you know, I don't know if somebody wants to speak to this or not, but sometimes you can be distracted, but really never know that you are. Have you ever been in a situation like that? Yeah. You've been distracted, but you don't know it until somebody brings it to your attention. And when they brings it to your attention, sometimes that can make us what? Feel a little upset. We can catch some emotions behind that. Yes? Because sometimes you're doing things that are distracting you, right? I've been working on, you hear people say this, I've been working on this for 2 years. But my goal was to have this done already. So what you want to ask for, if they didn't pay for the coffee, you want to say, why haven't you? But since they paid for the Starbucks, you say, oh, yeah, it'll happen. Right? You know how we do it. Come on now. But if we were to be completely honest, we may be able to see what others cannot see. The sheep sometimes get distracted. So the shepherd has to make sure that he covers the sheep. So he watches it. And then he watches it. Then he watches it. Then he has to go get that sheep and bring them back into the fold because they're teetering on distractive things while they're eating and just wandering off from the flock. They'll get themselves in trouble. And who's going to pay for that? Who pays for that? The question is that sometimes we can say, not question, but statement that we often hear that's being made is that I want to do it my way. It's about me, right? Me and mine. And my question to anyone that says that, who pays for that? Think about that for a second. Who pays for that? If you do it your way all the time. It's about me. Sure. Who pays for that? Now, we're not talking about just in dollars. We could be talking about that from a leadership perspective if we are doing investment. But who pays for that in emotions, time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Who pays for that? Yes, I think we have a mic right here.
Through this, I've been thinking about one thing. Because of what's going on in my life and the new venture that I'm in and everything, things have changed dramatically. And, you know, I do a lot of things around the house and with my wife and all those kinds of things. And, you know, she'll call up and say, you know, we need to get this done, and I'll stop doing what I'm doing. And we've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks now, that we need to reevaluate some of the things that I'm actually doing because it's taking time. And so, and what came to mind here is how can I refocus? I need to reevaluate my boundaries. Okay?
Say that again.
Reevaluate my boundaries. Because it's easy to, because you love your spouse, okay? And it's easy to say, okay, I'll get that taken care of. I mean, it happened twice today. And there's extenuating circumstances to where we're at today. However, I stopped what I was doing, and from 9 o'clock until 2 o'clock, I'm doing something else that has nothing to do with what I'm supposed to be doing. And then the last 2.5 hours, I'm jamming, okay, trying to get things out. And it was needed to be done today, but generally that would be crossing a new boundary that I'm starting to establish with her and saying, this is kind of how I have to run now. There's a lot of things that I'm not going to be able to do. And so, you know, I have to take a look inward, but then I have to talk to those that are around me. And I have to do that with kindness and love, okay? I just can't come out there and say, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. You know what? That's not going to do it.
Create a different situation.
Yeah, it's going to create another problem.
I want to lean into something that he just offered us. Reevaluate your boundaries. Oftentimes we're asking God to do what to our boundaries? Oh Lord, you promised. It's in your word. Enlarge my territory. I'm good for it. I can make it happen. Can you? God knows us better than we know ourselves. And if he were to enlarge our territories at the time we think that we should get it, it may be more of a distraction than you can handle, so he doesn't do it. And when he doesn't do it, we fall out like the kids. We fall out in the middle of the floor and we start kicking. And then when he finally does it, when we are ready, we say, oh, he's wonderful. Of course, he was wonderful when you wasn't ready, right? A song, again, I brought up last time says, God is preparing us for things that we can't handle right now, but he's making us ready because he cares for us. So he's providing us with what we need to carry out the next matter in our lives. He's preparing us. So you're going through a process the complete time. I think I saw a hand right here. Here we go. Mike over here.
Thank you. I think that the question about who's paying about our distraction is one of the deepest reflections that I could hear in class, because many times we consider that the distraction is something that we are aside of our goals. It's not that, in my opinion. The main distraction is not to be clear about the mission that God, the Lord asked us for to do, because it's not what we wanted, it's what the Lord wanted that we do. So the main distraction is coming deeply, not to listen, not pleasing the Lord on his will. And that is the main distraction, in my opinion, because many times we are focusing on our goals, but that goals is not God's wills. And if we're in that position, we are terrible distracted. No, I'm so focused. I was so focused doing an amazing business plan, amazing program with my friends, amazing team with family. That is not what the Lord wanted. Not because it's bad, but because the Lord asked me for something different. So in this case, when we're obsessive in our goals, that is not God's goals, what is going to happen? We're going to dig in the wrong place, and we're not going to find the gold. What is going to happen? Who's going to be paying? My wife, my daughter, my son, my partners, my investors, people who trust in me and put millions of dollars, or hundreds of people, or thousands of people, and then who was responsible? All of them. No, it was me, because I was not looking God. I was looking my only benefits, my pride, to be the king, to be the successful. No, it's about God.
Beautiful. Let's give him a round of applause for that. I love that. I love that. Question to you, or statement, should I say to you. Let's say that you're hungry, right? We're going to make this easy. You're hungry. Not for anything specific. You're just hungry, right? And you pray to God for finances, right? Because we know that if we have a couple of dollars, well, not a couple anymore, if you have a lot of money, you can go to a fast food restaurant, at least a fast food restaurant, and get something, right? Is that true so far? If we have a lot of money, we can do that. Are you asking him to feed you the way you want to be fed, or are you asking him to feed your hunger? I want you to think about that for a second. Here you are, you're hungry, and you want something to eat because you're famished. Do you pray for him for finances to help that situation, or do you pray for him to take care of the hunger? Because he has multiple ways he can handle it. But oftentimes we like to stay in the spaces that we're familiar with. If you give me the money, I'll be able to go take care of the hunger. Instead of saying, God, take care of the hunger. As leaders, say it again. So as leaders, we have to be careful what we think we see or what we are asking for, and how we're going to move to that area of success. Be careful what you're asking for. Some of us are asking for for us to be successful, but what are you really saying to God? What are you really asking him for? What do you really want me to do that I'm laying down in the belly of the ship and the waves are hitting? What do you really want? Master, carest not that we perish? So you're really after the physical thing. Where's your husband? I don't have a husband. In fact, you're right. You told the truth. Good thing. You've had 5. And the man you're hanging out with now down on 5th is not yours either. Right? She says, come see a man that's told me everything about my He did not do anything to satisfy my outer. He took care of my inner, because if I'm focused inwardly, normally that will progress outwardly. So God, if you take care of my hunger, everything else, he said, if you seek me and all of my righteousness and the things I like, everything you talking about, dude, come on now. I've been had that waiting on you since you were born. I can show you where it is, right? I can show you the cars and the houses and the good health and the children and the great relationships and the successful business, and you providing a business for somebody to raise their children on so that their children can go to college and become presidents and pastors. I can show you all of that, but you have to seek me first. But as leaders, we're oftentimes seeking power and prestige and dollar signs, and we relate it to that as that's leadership. But leadership is about how to influence, and you hear Pastor Jeremy talk about this all the time. Coming to a place of where you understand your influence and how it's being protruded on people and how it's influencing people to do what they do. Does that make sense so far? We're in a good place? All right, let's try the next slides. Let's see what we got. All right, Pastor Joel said this, right? Quit wasting time trying to convince someone to understand you who's determined to misunderstand you, who's determined to misunderstand. Quit trying to get somebody to understand you when they're trying to misunderstand you. No, you don't know my point. No, you don't know. Quit. What does the next one say? Everyone, no, I'm sorry, go back. I'm sorry. Everyone is not going to like you. I'm sorry. I know, I've talked to you. I know. Yes, I do. Trust me. And this thing, and I get it. And the car was, yeah, I get it. I'm a child, I get it. But not everyone is going to like you. Everyone is not going to accept you. And you are a child of the Most High God. Right here on the mic. Let's see.
I find that interesting. Everyone is not going to like you. Everyone is not going to accept you. Because I was listening to, well, he's a pastor, but he also talks about like business and, the kingdom of God in business, being in business. And so he made an interesting point. He was saying that your message is supposed to attract those who are supposed to be attracted to you, but also repel those who are supposed to be repelled for you because it's not for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Did you hear that? Your message is supposed to attract. So when they come into you with this stuff, right, depending on what you speak out, it can either attract audiences and it'll repel everything else, right? Why not? You're a child of the King, right? One more right here. Boy, you guys have a lot to say tonight.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, but this is deep. You asked before, hey, who is going to be paying for your distractions? Now I'm going to share one of my hardest experiences in my family. My mom teach me something. Because of her, I always wanted to be the best in many things in school and study and get a 1 degree and second under degree and a third degree. And there's a PhD. At the end, I found so lonely in my heart that what Socrates says, I only know that I know nothing. And I feel super ignorant on business because I found it that everything that I was doing is only to try to receive the acceptance of my mom. Because she never be close to me the way as I expected. So what I tried to do for 30-something years of my life, it was not to study. It was to be accepted as a son. So many times, the distraction that I had can become a divine detour as well.
Yeah.
So that's my conclusion.
Yeah.
Not everything is bad. From the bad, God used it to become something good as well. So that's a double message.
Yeah.
The bad can be good depending the way as we perspective. Thanks to that, I was so focused in business. Then I was focused in my family.
Thank you for doing it. One more time for him. One more time, man, for opening it up. Let's go to the next slide real quick. Now, this is 2024, in case you didn't know, right? You just woke up and you say, what's going on? This is 2024. And in 2024, I'll bring you up to speed real quick. In 2024, people are searching for likes. Would you agree? They want to be liked. How many likes did you get? Oh, I got 3,500. Whoa, well, that's awesome. I don't know what you're going to do with it, but that's awesome that you got a lot of likes, right? Right? And so in 2024, we want likes. But here's the question I have. What emotions are generated when you experience likes? What happens for you when you get a like? Ding, like, ooh. What happens for you? What comes up for you? Anybody? You feel accepted. You get excited. You feel important. Validated by strangers that don't know you. Let's think about it for a second. By people that don't know you. You feel, say it again? You feel needed by people that don't know you. Validated by people that don't know you. Accepted by people that don't know you. Yes, sir? And you don't know them and you like them. Sound like you know them now. Number one has liked me 20 times, right? Yeah? Wait a minute. You feel confirmed even if you're delusional. Now, we're going to have a sign-up sheet in the back on your way out. If you're feeling any emotions around this. Pretty cool, right? This is where we are. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we are. As leaders, this is what we're having to deal with followers. When you go into an evaluation, they want to be what? Special and liked. If you say to me in an evaluation, you've done this wonderful, and you've done this wonderful, and you've done this wonderful, and we're so excited, and you did this wonderful, and you did this, oh yeah, and I say, but immediately your shoulders drop. Because they are not liking you, and those emotions come through. What's the next slide? Okay. Oh boy. Look at this one. What emotions are generated when you experience dislikes? Rejection. What else? Deleted. Bing. Should have never sent it to them. They don't understand anything. They're probably a sinner. Bing. All right? All right. All right, go to the next slide for me real quick. Okay, let's do this real fast. If the world hates you, know that it has hated me before it hated you. Blessed are ye when men shall hate you, right? Who are you? When you ask to be in the leadership space or you get into the leadership space, do you know what you're asking for? Not to get likes, not to be accepted. Everybody is not going to like you because leadership is tough. It requires tough decisions, right? And then everybody, they hated me. So news, flash, they probably not going to like you. They don't like me either, right? All right, look, what we got next? We got to finish up. Okay? What do we have next? All right, if someone doesn't see the gift that you are, if they don't recognize your talents and values, your friendship, do yourself a favor. Move on. What do we have next? What God has for me, it is for who? It's for me. It's not for you. I wouldn't have got it that color. I know. I know. I wouldn't have bought it that big. Yes, I know. I know. Right? And so what's the next slide says? Right? How difficult is it for you to move on when you know the relationship is not fruitful? Let's tell the truth. Let's tell the truth. Somebody say very hard. What else? Makes you want to try harder. What else? Really quick. Please them. Look for online real quick for me. Make you want to please them. Why would we want to do that? Because it's unfruitful. It's not fruitful. Maybe they'll change. Is they going to do it in the 5th year or the 10th year? They back in the back hollering at me, talking about tell the truth, tell the truth. Y'all don't know anything about this. Of course we do, right? What are we saying online about the fruitfulness? Relationships is not fruitful. Why is it difficult for us to move on? Why is it difficult for us to move on? Maybe a loss. Most people say that the research says it's because we have a loss. It's a loss. Yes, right here. Oh my goodness. But Pastor Joy told us earlier, right? If it ain't, you're not going to be liked and accepted by everybody, and we have to move on. But sometimes when you value people's opinions, you will stay there and play in that. Right? Online, real quick for us before we turn it over.
Well, Danielle says that we see potential and call it God. God sees spirit and calls it truth.
Whoa. Whoa. Go to the next slide for me real quick. We're almost done. Avoiding fight is mark of honor. And he said, hearken ye unto Judah. And basically this was Jehoshaphat. For the battle is not yours, it's God's. Right? Next slide for me real quick. I got to get there. Sometimes instead of celebrating you, people will get jealous. Y'all ain't had this happen to you. But let me read it again. Sometimes instead of celebrating you, people will get jealous, try to pull you down and get into a conflict. Just because you got the new thing and you've moved up, they have a problem with you now. Just yesterday we was talking about you, but now that I done moved up with you, they got a problem with me. You know it's true. Yep. Yeah, it is true. Unfortunately, it's true. What else we have? What else we got to finish up? If people are controlling you, it's not their fault. Pastor Joy told us that in the book. If people are controlling you, it's not their fault. Whose fault is it? Well, okay. Right? Whose fault is that? When people, what else we have? I think we almost done. This is it, I think. Do you know anyone who is trying to control you? If so, how do we get beyond that control, the distractors? We got to do this real quick and we're done. How do we get beyond distractions? Do what to them? Ooh-wee. Block them, do what? Distance yourself. And I think somebody said something over here. Move on, walk away. Boy, y'all cold. You texting them right now talking about, I told you it's over, it's done. All right? So just remember, as we move into our leadership spaces, as we go home tonight, as we begin to think about this, what Pastor Joel wrote, right, on distractions and moving our lives forward, that we think about how do we lead in our spaces as leaders, good shepherds, but with this in the back of our minds as we lead other people. If there's a distractor out in front of you, recognize the distraction, remove it, and move on, right? Can we give ourselves a round of applause? Pastor Joel.